Hello and welcome everyone to episode 9 of the large layout build series. Today's focus is all about painting the track and making it look more realistic. And with that said, let's get started. So all wiring is complete and it all works smoothly. Here's a short overview of how I have my NCE PowerCab set up on the layout. First of all, we have the controller plugged into the panel we mounted, and all that's connected on the back is the power cord on the right and the two bus wires on the left, which are 14 gauge solid copper wire. The smaller wires you see are the feeder wires, which are 18 gauge solid copper, and those wires go from the bus to the track itself. The blue things you see are the tap splices, which are for easily connecting the feeders to the bus, and all of that continues down the entire layout. Here you can see where I soldered the feeders to the track. I do it for every single row, and I do it about every 3 or 4 feet, and that's to prevent any kind of voltage drops. I did also add an old building from my last layout to the sugar mill area. It's already been weathered and slightly detailed, which is nice. And the warehouse moved here. Now we can get to the track painting part of today's video. So, the paint I'm using is actually just Rust-Oleum spray paint. I went with a dark brown camo color in a matte finish. If I had an airbrush, I'd use that, but for now, this is all I got. I'll be painting all the track with the same color. But first, I must remove all freight cars and switchers. And of course, everything else. Now we should be ready for paint. I did originally plan on painting it here in the room, but I got some help and I moved it outside instead, just so I wouldn't have to deal with airing out the room in the middle of winter. Here's a final look of what the tracks look like before painting, and here's what it looks like after. Huge difference. One great thing about doing this is that you get the side of the rail painted, which looks a lot more realistic than it did previously. This here is the difference between cleaning the top of the track and just leaving it painted. To clean the paint off, I'll be using this Woodland Scenics rail pad. I do want to note that the rail pad is all I'll need. The paint comes off quite easily. One thing I want to mention is when I painted the track, I kept all switches in this position, and this is to not get any paint on the inside of the rail. And when I sprayed it, I only sprayed it on the side that I stand on, because the wall is on the other side and you won't see it at all. Here's the little rail pad. I'll be using the gray side for the more intense cleaning. You can see right away that it comes off fairly easy. Finally, it is all cleaned up. Now I can test out the switcher on the newly painted track. I also do get to show off some of the buttons and features of the sound installed into the engine. Do enjoy. Alright, that's going to be a wrap on episode 9. So far, it works perfectly fine. There are no issues when it comes to connectivity with, electricity flowing through the track. Everything works perfectly. And I do want to say that this part was probably one of the second most hardest part of making this entire layout, purely because of the spray paint part. If I had an airbrush, it would have been a lot easier and probably would have been a little bit more detailed and a little bit more realistic with how things looked. But overall, I'm still really happy with how it turned out. So that is all for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed as usual, and I will catch you guys in next week's episode.